And good evening, everybody. How you guys all doing tonight? This is the Club of the Man 1993. I apologize. I've been slow on content the past couple weeks. Again, just a ton going on. Very busy. Which is why, again, I took a break from the live reviews for a few weeks. Hopefully, this weekend we will be getting back to those for sure. Hopefully, with all the shows happening in wrestling. But we're here to talk some sad news for Major League Baseball. This is a little few days late, but I'm getting to it now. This past Friday, on Independence Day, unfortunately, Major League Baseball witnessed a sad loss for the White Sox family, and of course Red Sox as well. Bobby Jenks, former closer, two-time All-Star for the White Sox, and also a brief stint with the Boston Red Sox 2011, sadly passed away this past Friday in Portugal at the age of 44 after a battle with an aggressive form of stomach cancer. Jenks, who had been working as a coach in a Pioneer League, had announced back in February that he was taking a leave of absence as he was dealing with a stage 4 form of stomach cancer. And I believe he moved to Portugal to get treated for that cancer. Jenks, who has 6 children from both of his wives, survived by all of them at this time. And Jenks was only 44 years old. Looking back, of course, at his career, of course, I do remember Bobby Jenks. Known for sure for his time as the White Sox closer. I didn't realize the other struggles that he dealt with. So Jenks was actually drafted by the Angels in 2000. He dealt with some injuries due to the high stress on his elbows, apparently, which caused him to be on a disabled list a lot in the minor leagues. And also, he had been dealing with some other personal problems as well during his time in the minors with the Angels. He was eventually released from the Angels. He was designated for assignments, and the White Sox claimed him off waivers. I believe he was just in Double-A for the first half of the 2005 season. For the White Sox called him up in July of 2005, and he basically immediately became their closer. And he would be a big part of the White Sox World Series victory that year in 2005. I believe he had, 4 saves and 6 appearances from what I saw. It played a huge part. And I believe he also was the one who got the final out when the White Sox won a World Series, ending an 88-year drought. The White Sox, of course, have not won a World Series since. And apparently, they were a few weeks away from the White Sox having a 20-year reunion of that team that Ozzie, who was the manager for the White Sox at that time, had announced. And unfortunately, of course, it's going to be a little bittersweet now with the passing of Bobby. But of course, Bobby would go on to not play too long in the majors. We do forget Bobby Jenks only played from 2005 to 2011. But he was a 2-time All-Star. He got over 40 saves, I believe, twice, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But he had 173 career saves in total. Again, a 2-time All-Star. He also had a record, I think, of 45 consecutive batters he retired, I believe it was. 2008 or 2009, 2007, I can't remember which year it was, but he had that streak going as well. And again, he was a pretty powerful pitcher. He, of course, eventually would move on to the Red Sox, signing a 2-year deal before the 2011 season, after the White Sox declined his option. And unfortunately, he dealt with some injuries, and his last appearance in the majors was on July 7th. He would have some bone spurs, I believe it is. Now, this part I didn't know. Bobby Jenks had surgery on 2 bone spurs, apparently, or something like that. And I guess the surgeon botched the procedure. They're supposed to work on, 2 levels of them. They only worked on 1 and failed to finish the second one. And apparently, from what it looks like, the guy kind of overbooked surgeries that day, which is why Bobby's surgery may have gotten screwed up. And Bobby did sue that surgeon. I think he eventually settled with him in 2019, I believe it was. But the damage he had suffered from that botched surgery, unfortunately, would end his playing days. Of course, they would, offer to do some surgery to do some physical therapy, but his chances of playing again weren't likely because of that botched surgery. So, after he was released from the Red Sox, a few months later, he agreed to just get the surgery and retire from baseball. And he, of course, go on to do coaching and managing the rest of his life. And, of course, be a father. So, yeah, definitely a sad ending to what could have been a Hall of Fame pitcher. It's unfortunate, again, his career ended in 2011. And he was 30 years old? He was 30 years old when he pitched in his last game. That's too young for someone who was just as talented as he was, unfortunately. That botched surgery just, man. I read that and I just felt so bad for the guy. Like I said, I remember him. He was a great closer, great pitcher. Again, two-time All-Star. And, yeah, it's just a shame his career got cut short due to injuries, and worse, it's a shame his life got cut short as well. Again, he has 6 children between both of his wives. And I'm sure, losing their dad at just 44 years old is definitely hard for sure. My thoughts and prayers to the Jenks family, to the White Sox and the Red Sox communities, Angels as well, since he was in the Angels organization during this time. Again, Bobby Jenks passed away on July 4th, 2025, at the age of 44, after battling an aggressive form of stomach cancer.